Okay, we can go ahead and get started. Let me see. I see Chief Priest. I don't see, is Chief Riddick going to be joining us?
He's here, Madam Chair.
Yeah, it says
Okay,
West
there you
Hartford
are.
PD.
Okay, thank
That's
you. Good
normally me.
morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy March. Um, This is the West Hartford Public Safety Committee meeting. This committee meeting will be available for live viewing on the WHCI YouTube channel. This is a virtual meeting, and today is Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, and the time is 8:01. And before I start, I just want to acknowledge everyone around the virtual table this morning. We have Chief Riddick, Chief Priest, and emergency management. Oh my God, why am I? Rob McHugh, AC Tierra, Counselor Alberto Cortez, Counselor Deb Poland, Mayor Sherry Cantor, Fire Marshal Robert Grimaldi. Who else am I missing? I think we have it. I think that's it. All right, so again, I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is approval of the minutes for February 1st, 2023, with all the necessary corrections. And at this point, I just want to pivot over to the town manager because I believe we don't have the January minutes. Yes, the January minutes is missing. I believe last month we were supposed to have the January minutes, but there was a mix-up. Okay,
Correct, Madam Chair. Sorry about that.
no, that's okay.
We'll make sure we add them for the March meeting,
Okay,
April meeting. I'm sorry. It's
okay.
March today.
Yeah, snuck up on us.
It did.
All right, so I'll move to communications. I don't know if you have anything that you would like to share with the committee at this time.
We had a very busy morning, Madam Chair, for our police and fire personnel. We did, as folks may have heard, we did have an accident on the north end of town at the intersection of Trout Brook and Albany Avenue. So I believe the intersection may still be closed, but we had a tractor trailer truck heading north on Trout Brook and collided with a bus that was transit bus, Connecticut transit bus, not a school bus, heading west on Albany. So I don't think we have much more details than that. I don't think there were any serious injuries, but it's a little bit of a mess over there. Chief Riddick, is there anything you'd add to that?
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Yes, there are serious but non-life-threatening injuries. I do want to thank the FD and their personnel. There wasn't extrication, and I'm sure Chief Priest might get involved with that. DPW assisted us too with barricades. Connecticut DOT was on scene, and the Connecticut State Police are assisting us with the traffic investigation because of the fact there's a tractor trailer involved with that. So we're still working on determining who's at fault or the contributing factors, and we'll go from there. Chief Priest, anything that I may have missed from your side?
No, sir. Very much actually say thanks to the council because we put some battery operated rescue tools into use, and that was something that the council had approved in the CNRE in a previous year. So those were new tools, and our early reports are they performed very well, which expedited the extrication of the driver, which, as the chief has alluded to, was very prolonged. So we wish him well, and I have nothing further.
Thanks, Chiefs.
Yep. One other point I forgot, our drone team was utilized too for the action investigation to get some good overhead pics of the scene too. So thank you for the funding for that.
Okay, thank you so much for providing us with that information. I did see a quick clip of that on the morning news, so happy to know that we were able to attend and provide those services that were needed, and also gave you the necessary equipment to do so. All right, so we'll move quickly into staff reports, and Chief Priest, you and your team are up first.
Oh, great. Good morning, everyone. Greg Priest, Fire Chief, as you are aware. Certainly waking up both to our accident in town, but also looking at the horrific accident that happened over in Greece with the train derailment, and just glad that we don't have a lot of passenger trains here, but just making sure that these big national incidents, global incidents are good for us to just cross-check and make sure that we have the right resources and training should we have something like that. I did submit a written report. Don't really need to go over too much of it other than a couple of shout outs to some of our personnel, which is first apparatus operator Berghoff was promoted, or he was a firefighter paramedic. He's been promoted. And we wanted to give a shout out to Isaiah Colon, who's one of our newer employees. He came off of paramedic precepting at a record pace. So very pleased for that. And Bob has a new addition to the Office of Emergency Management as a part-time employee, Bob Hilborn. So we have another Bob coming into our EM team. Bob is a longtime member or longtime resident of town who has been doing a tremendous amount of work with our CERT team. So he'll be coming on board as a part-time employee. We have a couple of notable calls for you this month. We had some coverage in WeHad.com, which discussed a really excellent outcome of a cardiac arrest patient that was at a local golf place. That was outstanding. I've also got in my report that there was a local business that had a cardiac arrest happen, and a team from the local oral maxillofacial surgery center came across and actually were able to start CPR and ultimately save this person's life. So these are really excellent cases to go right in there with a recent fire on Fern Street, which was very good stop by our folks. Great rapid response. So always pleased to talk about the great work of our folks out there. You may hear about it from Chief Riddick as well, but we had another display of teamwork at a fairly serious criminal incident, and there was some follow-up that was provided to us about the great teamwork and the relationship between our police and fire and how that contributed to a good outcome with CARE, but I'll defer for the chief on that more. But in continuing with our partnership with the police department, we continue to work on our active shooter hostile events response. We'll be sending some of our paramedics to something called tactical medic training, and we're really pleased to be working with Chief Riddick and his team on that to make sure that we have the right medical care available for our ESU operators as well as our residents. And Bob and his team are working on some grants for generators, and Chief O'Callahan is working on some other grants relative to the Safer Act. So very pleased that we're moving along, and just some forecasting for next month. I'm very happy to see that the legislature is looking at recruiting and retention issues as well as youth programs. So they released a couple of bills, one fairly sizable bill last night that has to do with recruiting, and one part to that is its high school programs. And we'll be meeting actually with some stakeholders later today to develop some of our youth programs here in town. So that concludes my report. Everything else is in writing, and glad to answer any questions that anyone may have of me.
Thank you, Chief Priest. I'll turn to the committee members. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Chief Priest? Or anybody, any of the other counselors that are joining us this morning? Okay. All right, so we'll turn to Chief Riddick for our PD update.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here and see everyone. I did submit a written report with some bullets. I am going to highlight a few things, as Chief Priest did too. Some really good work and just some non-traditional stuff that I normally don't report on, but just to give you a flavor of the diversity of the stuff that we do with the PD. First, hiring and retention. We now have 7 vacancies, and we have 2 officers in the Meriden Police Academy, and we also have 3 people on deck to go to the Hartford Police Academy. So we're good. We're pleased with our hiring and our so far retention, so we're okay there. Pistol permits. In February of 2022, we had 13 applications. On February of this year, we also have 13. Go figure. Year to date, 2022 was 31. Year-to-date 2023, 28 total. Some notable recent activities, motor vehicle stops. So year-to-date in 2022, we had 367 motor vehicle stops. Year-to-date this year, 2023, 1,250. So you can see a significant increase in our focus on getting out there and to keep the streets safe. Our Animal Control Division handled 293 calls for service in February. 129 of those calls were domestic animal complaints, 12 were wildlife complaints. As a result of that, there were 17 verbal warnings that were given, 5 town ordinance violations, and 3 infractions, and 1 dog bite complaint. Our ERC, our Communications Division, received 1,470 911 calls and 3,174 quote-unquote routine calls for service. And of those calls for service, an astounding 97.4% were handled within less than 10 seconds. So kudos to our ERC personnel, our complaint takers, and our PSUs. As a continuation of our community outreach, we're really focusing on, again, getting, post-COVID, getting back out there. Our HANIC program that we started last year for the first time, we're doing again this year in 2023. And the first event is tonight. That's a community engagement between the police department and the HANIC Neighborhood Association and the youth. After school activities, homework haven, do's and don'ts, and the like. So we're really excited about that. On March 18th, we'll be partnering with several area police departments in the Cap region. We'll be doing mock traffic stops with the autism community. As we know, those who have autism, with lights and things, and sometimes that creates certain behaviors. So it's a good training for our officers, as well as an opportunity to have those members of our autistic community who are drivers and sometimes passengers to go through these mock scenarios with various police departments and to work on decreasing barriers and work on training. And most importantly, working on not having altercations with police officers as a result of behavioral outbursts that they can't control. Our community relations officers in March 7th, next week, will be giving safety tips and to our senior folks for pedestrian safety and just overall general safety. So on March 7th, we will be at Bishop's Corner. And then on April 18th, we'll be at Elmwood Community Center providing tips and safety. Talking about pedestrian safety, again, we harken back to December 20th of 2022 when Eugenia Urowski, tragically was killed on Boulevard. We have not forgotten about her, 89 years old. We've been working with the state's attorney's office to secure funding for an award, a reward for information leading to an arrest. The state's attorney has our application, and that'll be submitted to the governor's office for some consideration. In addition to that, Assistant Chief Robert Rickabon attended the Rotary Club meeting I think it was yesterday, and 2 days ago. And we got pledges for upwards of $1,400 towards an reward for any information leading to an arrest. So, kudos to our folks for doing that. And we're still running out all investigative leads, anything we possibly can do. We're running into a bunch of, dead ends, but we're still going forward. Her death will not be in vain. During the snowstorm, we only had 8 vehicles towed for violating the town's snow ban. So that's really good. We had good communication, good working with the DPW. John Phillips and his team did a really, really good job getting our streets safe, and was a great partnership. Back to, speeding enforcement, hold on to your hats here. But on February 27th, one of our traffic officers stopped a vehicle in the area of eastbound on Albany Avenue, traveling 85 miles an hour for a posted 40 miles per hour zone. And if that really gets your fancy, on February 14th, Officer Allen stopped a westbound vehicle in the area of 2900 block of Albany Avenue for traveling 93 miles an hour in a 40 miles per hour zone. So that's reckless driving and various charges, and it's really just a total disregard for their own safety and the community's safety. So kudos to our personnel being out there and catching these egregious speeders. And lastly, on February 20th, the call that Chief Priest referenced earlier, the coordination and collaboration with a very tragic attempted murder complaint that occurred. There was a juvenile involved, so I can't get into a lot of detail, but an adult male was had his throat slashed. We were able to have the assistance and get on the scene quick to stop the bleeding. In addition, the perpetrator of that crime, we had a citizen who gave us a really good description and an area of travel, so our personnel were able to flood the area and locate that individual. In addition, our canine was utilized and did a track to find the weapon that was used, because the weapon was tossed, and the canine was able to locate that weapon after a track. So again, a lot of good work, a lot of collaboration. We're busy, but again, we did a good job, professional, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Riddick. Thank you for that report, and very comprehensive, and just happy to learn based on what you just reported out, as well as what I read in the report, that the PD is doing such great things, especially around the community that has autism. I think that is huge in terms of our work around that particular area. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Riddick? Counselor Al, it's too early this morning, Cortez.
Yes, it is, Madam Chair. Thank you. I just can you give me the stats on the motor vehicle stops again? I was writing the notes, and I got 1250 for this year. The last year's numbers, what were those again?
Yeah, year to date for 2022 was 367. And me, as well as Counselor Blanks, I'm a little tongue-tied this morning for whatever reason, so I apologize for mumbling and stumbling over my words. I had one cup of coffee in the last 3 weeks. I think that's part of it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Mayor Cantor? Okay. Chief Riddick, I also have noticed, I live close to 84, so I know that's out of your jurisdiction, but also every now and then I will hear vehicles speeding late at night, almost like, and maybe I'm out of the loop, like, do we have some what do I want to say, speedway, unofficial speedway going on? I can hear the increase in speed just going up my street, and when it's really late, it also sounds like they're speeding along South Quaker Lane. So I don't know, in the police community, if it's known at particular hours in the early mornings, if people are just using our highway and our roadway as a speedway. And I'm just happy to know that the PD is able to recognize some of this and really address it, and continue to prevent, further harm and damage to our community, and as well as you said, to the operator themselves, but to also anything else, because anything can happen at any time. And if you're going at that high rate of speed, there's no stopping. There's just a whole lot of other damage that's going to be occurring on the other end. So I want to thank you and your team for the continuous great work that you continue to provide for our town.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have a specific answer to your question. I think the numbers speak for themselves, and those numbers are across all 3 shifts. So it's not as if we're just focusing during the daytime hours. That's across all 3 shifts, and including third shift, where we want our officers to be more active. And I do believe, when it's quiet, we have a hypersensitivity to sound and speed. So, your senses actually focus on that. And I also will give Connecticut State Police a shout out. I've noticed definitely a significant increase in their presence in the Park Road area, parked on the side of the road. They've been out there in the last couple of weeks. I've seen them out, whereas before I did not.
Okay. All right. Thank you again. Anybody else have any other questions for Chief Riddick or Chief Priest that you didn't think of before? All right. This might be record time. Any other future agenda items? I know we're gearing up. Okay.
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Count-
at our next meeting, we will be discussing the budget for both the police and fire. So it'll be a off-schedule meeting for March 29th at 5 p.m.
Right. Okay. All right, so everybody note that on the calendars, our March Madness begins. Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, I will give you back a whole lot of time for this morning. Chief Riddick can probably get that extra cup of coffee, and everybody enjoy the rest of their day, and please be safe and watch your backs out there.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
We'll see you.